So, you're thinking of buying a property, right? Did you know that there's going to be costs involved? And so much costs. So this video will help you in knowing what fees you need to pay, what questions you need to ask, and also where you can ask for discount. When you buy a property, the first thing you need to do is find the property. The second thing you need to do is sign an offer to purchase. The way this normally works is it's a piece of paper that you sign that says, I'm offering the buyer the following amount. They would then sign it and send it back to you. You would then have a certain amount of days, anything between 7 and 28 days normally, where you would need to go and find a bond. That is if you are going to have a bond and not paying cash. You would then need to go find a bond. If you use a good mortgage originator, you would actually get that service for free, and they would go to all the banks and get the best price for you. If you have found a bond, then they would send it on to the bond attorneys. The bond attorneys will ask a fee. You would also pay a fee that would be added onto your bond, which is called a bond initiation fee. That is normally around about between 4 and 5,500 rand. The bond fee is calculated depending on the amount that you're borrowing. There are also other fees like postage and petties that you would also need to pay. They would communicate then to the transfer attorney. The transfer attorney is the people that would actually transfer it from the original owner, the seller, to you, the buyer. You would obviously need to pay them as well. Remember, whether it's the bond or the transfer attorneys, you can always ask for a discount. If they say no, well, you tried. The transfer fees is also broken up into different sections. You also get postage and petties there, and you also need to pay things like transfer duty. If your property is above 950,000, you would need to pay a special fee for the government because they love your money. Other fees include the transfer attorney fee and any other fees that you would need to actually have this in order. So, if you wanted to sell your property, on the other hand, you don't pay the bond or the transfer costs. That is only on the buyer. But there are some other fees that you need to be aware of that you would need to pay as well. These include, you would need to get a COC certificate, that is an electricity certificate, to say that your house is in order. This is not expensive, maybe 500, maybe 1,000 rand, sometimes 2,000 rand depending on the property. You would also need to pay a bond closing attorney fee. This is normally not out-of-pocket expenses. The transfer attorney will deduct that money already, so you probably won't see it. You would just see that you received a little bit less money than what you normally do. Recently I paid about 5,000 rand for this, but it does scale up. So it is worth asking that question before you go down that road. You would also need to make sure that your levies and electricity and rates and taxes accounts are up to date. Remember, you are in control of your property, and you need to make sure that the buyer knows everything there is to know. Previously, there was a voetstoots clause that said you buy it as is. Today, that doesn't exist anymore, and it is on the seller to let the person know everything that is wrong with the property, whether it's the pool pump not working, whether it's the air conditioner, or whether you've got a leaky roof. It is very important that the buyer knows about all of these things. So, the take home, you need to know that there are costs involved when buying and selling a property. For buying a property, you would need to pay the bond costs, the transfer costs, the transfer duties, You would also need to pay 2 to 3 months of levies in advance if you are buying a sectional title property. If you are selling a property, your rates and taxes needs to be up to date, as well as your levies. You need to make sure that you have a COC certificate to make sure that your property is correct, up to date, and sorted. So, go and happy investing.